G'day, it's Terry Burgan from Aussie Speakers USA. I have with me today Kyle Crocco, affectionately known as Aussie Kyle. Now, that's what we call him here. Kyle is actually the Chief Operating Officer of Aussie Speakers USA on the ground in Santa Barbara. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well. How are you doing out there?
I'm doing pretty well. And how is your weather today in Santa Barbara?
Just another lovely day in Santa Barbara. I would say the temperature, but it's in degrees. I don't know what that's in Celsius, but just another comfortable summer day, which is pretty
Good.
much like a comfortable winter day, all the same temperature.
Right. So you're talking about 70, 80 degrees
70,
Fahrenheit.
about 70.
Oh, that's
I don't
nice.
know, it's like 20 something.
That's nice. And
Yeah.
look, we firstly for people in Australia, that accent that Kyle's got is an American accent. Um,
Absolutely.
So, Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's been your experience with? Obviously, let me preface that by saying Kyle's heading up our speaker bureau, the Aussie Speakers USA Speaker Bureau in the US. It was important for us to get someone who had experience in the speaker bureau industry. But we're a little bit different in that we actually look for really good people. I've got this maxim that says no amount of remuneration can substitute working with an asshole. Now I know that's pretty crass, but it's true, and we all know it to be true as well. So when we go looking for people, we're looking for really nice people, and then we look at the experience afterwards. And what we found with Kyle is a really nice person. We knew that anyway. And then we went, wow, this guy's got so much experience with speaker bureaus. We are so lucky to have him as a friend in the first place. Let's see if he's interested in coming on board with ASU. So tell us a little bit about your experience in bureaus, mate.
All right, yeah, I got into the business here in Santa Barbara after meeting the vice president of the company when I was here going to school at University of California, Santa Barbara. He invited me on to do some writing, and I ended up joining their marketing department in 2017, but I was actually doing work for them while I was still in school in 2016. So it's that 7, 8 years, nine almost. I've been doing things with or fully employed by the Speakers
How
Bureau.
long have you worked with speaker bureaus, and what's kind of the general thing that you usually do?
Uh, at Big Speak, my main role was in the marketing department, and I did all types of marketing things, usually writing bios, talk descriptions, what you would call show reels or sizzle reels for speakers. I edited those. I also did a little SEO work, website, things behind the lines on that, ghost wrote for various speakers, emails, all those sort of marketing things that you do, all the branding, imaging type of stuff as well.
So you're no strangers to keynote speakers, I take it.
No, I'm very familiar with them for the past, 8, 9 years. Um, a few of the Australian ones I've known, how they come across the way and Big Speak, but mainly I know the top speakers in their organization and a few of in the industry as they keep popping up.
And then what do you think the advantages are for Australian speakers working in the US?
Well, the obvious advantage is financial, that speakers get paid a whole lot more over here in the States. I remember when I was setting up a speaker to be on the site, and he was telling me how much he got paid. I said, well, our minimum is this, so we're going to set your rate here. And he was very happy about that.
In Australia, you can do five. The average is between 5 and 7,000. Yeah, it really is. And look, there are some speakers that are getting a little bit more than that, and they have earned their stripes. They're either a CSP or they're flavor of the month. We're very much flavor of the month here. You'll get someone who's flavor of the month for a while. Their fee will go up and usually maintain around about that 10, sometimes 15, just depends. And sometimes you'll get an international speaker that will start working and then realize what the fees are like over in the US and probably focus their work there. But you can do 5 gigs in Australia at $5,000 for $25,000 net result. Or you can go to the States and do 5 gigs for around about the average is 20,000 US. Now, when you convert that to Australian dollars, that's $130,000 for the same 5 gigs. And I worked this out a long, long time ago that this is, for me, this was worked out when I was actually working for a speaker bureau. And I asked the manager there why we're not marketing keynote speakers in the States. I said, have you seen the fees that they're getting over there? And I was told to go and sit down and do my number because I was still on trial. You know,
Mm.
really backward thinkers, or think this person was quite a backward thinker. But, you know, very old school, you know, and I think that old, that sort of that thinking doesn't work real well in the world we're living in now. I think you have to think on your feet and move, and be a little bit more agile with what's happening in the market. And I think that's what Aussie speakers have done. So you know where we're heading. You know, we're using a lot of agentic technology. We're probably going to be first to market in the speaker bureau space. How does that sit with you?
Well, I think it's a great idea to outreach. I think these tools for a small organization make us just as competitive as, the more established or medium-sized organizations who are just doing inbound or SEO. So matching people's expertise with pain points of companies seems like an excellent way to land lots of gigs. More gigs for speakers, better for everyone.
I think in a market like America, which is $236 billion, as opposed to Australia being $36 billion, and we know not all of that is keynote speakers, there is huge, absolutely huge upside and great opportunity there for Australian speakers. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's a great market for Australian speakers to get into. And I can also see the appeal from the American side, getting the international insights that they would get from someone from Australia into all the different topic areas that they're experts in, as well as, for all the people who are Australiophiles now from all the movies and actors. So, benefit from that little halo effect.
Yeah, because we Australians are very popular in the US, correct?
Yeah. Margot Robbie, Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, just
But you know
I mean,
the general,
no longer Crocodile Dundee, so this
thank
is the
goodness.
old image. Yeah,
Thank goodness, because I think
yeah,
that that's what they thought Australians were like. But of course, you and I know they're a lot more sophisticated than that's not a knife. You know, although
yeah,
we love Paul Hogan. I mean, you know, he's a
yeah,
national hero and stuff like that.
yeah,
But I think you know, these days the overall kind of thought about an Australian as a little bit more than a bushman who's
yeah,
is a little bit more sophisticated now. And I know with our keynote speakers, you know, that even with people I've worked with in the past and speakers that I've watched operate in the US, they are hugely popular with event audiences over there. And then for their authenticity, for their content, but just for that affable Australian kind of easygoing way. Is that something that is recognizable for you?
yeah. I think that's a definite appeal of having the keynote speaker being from Australia, the kind of the interaction that they can provide, that sort of charisma that flows out from, having that exotic, being from another country, the same but yet different. So I think it has a cool factor that maybe like another keynote speaker wouldn't have.
And you've spent some time in Australia, Aussie Kyle.
Yeah, I spent 3 weeks back in November 2019, October, November. Yeah, I traveled all over the country, on the East Coast, West Coast, Tasmania. even dropped in New Zealand, gave them a shout as well.
Well, don't the New Zealanders here call thinking that they're Aussies, mate. Ooh.
But they're not.
I mean,
I know there's a difference, but I was,
Russell Crowe is New Zealander, right?
yeah.
He's not
And
Australian. He's not Australian. He
yeah,
gets tarnished with the Australian brush because he's actually the I support a team here called South Sydney. Now
yeah.
they are. Let me just get out a South Sydney's jacket for you because I happen to have one right here. Now we'll just pull out a little bit of the South Sydney stuff. I'll put this on.
Oh, there you go.
And this is South Sydney. So this is the famous rabbit where the Rabbitohs.
Yeah,
And by the way, I was a member in the only
yeah.
year that Souths have won, 2014, have actually won the premiership. So go the mighty Souths. Russell Crowe is one of the owners of that club. So very much a one of those people that sort of I mean, you can imagine some of the players, right? When he first took over, the players getting around there. But we love Russell Crowe, mate. We do.
Mhm.
He's just a champion for rugby league, which is the sport that we have actually in ASU. We have a gentleman by the name of Wayne Pearce who played for Australia. He captained the New South Wales Blues, which is the state of origin, and captained at club level, and is just an all-round champion and never took a drink in his life. He's as fit as a fiddle. I've got a 1-pack. He's got a 6-pack. We're the same age.
Yeah.
In fact, you'll see on LinkedIn yesterday, I posted a picture of him and I. We've been working with Wayne for about 7 to 8 years, and really happy that he's coming on to ASU. And Carl, you'll be interested to know that Wayne goes over to Las Vegas every year in February, I think it is. Could be February. Yeah, I think it's February. And they do, I don't know what the big stadium is in Las Vegas. It's a massive, huge stadium. You probably know more than I do, but
We're
the
talking a sports stadium or
oh
no?
yes, and the
Okay.
NFL does their opening game there every year.
Yeah.
So it's a huge deal, and huge American audience now. The Australian Rugby League, or the NRL as we call it, National Rugby League, is making huge inroads into the US market, which is also huge. The sporting market is like absolutely massive. And
Yeah.
Wayne's the NRL commissioner of the National Rugby League, and he goes over there every year. So he will be available over there, and I'll talk to you about that because he, 1 week prior to the last week of February and the first week of March, he's actually available for bookings over there. So let's have a little chat about where you see ASU going in the next 3 years, and what sort of things do you think Australian keynote speakers have got in store for themselves?
Coming to America?
Working
I think
America.
working in America, I think they have a lot of opportunities here to expand their business, to grow their brand by coming to the States. I believe from speaking to speakers in Australia that the market is rather small there. I mean, one, Australia, and then I know they speakers there speak in, Malaysia and maybe some other places, but still smaller markets, not as much money. Here, once you get into America, and it's just such a large place. There's so many companies that are based here that are looking for keynote speakers, and they're just spending lots of money. So you see speakers just have great careers here.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's I see.
I try and explain to speakers how big the market is there because especially like when you're thinking about, all right, how big is it? You can't visualize how big and how many networks there are in the US. It is absolutely ginormous, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at California, how large it is, and it has as many people as it does in Australia. That's just one state. Granted, it's one of the biggest states, but then there's still the rest of America there, and so many other large cities and groups of people that are open to these speakers. So I think this will change the lives of speakers coming to America, for the better. Not an Australian speaker example, but I remember this keynote speaking example of someone from Big Speak who he was just a small speaker when he started. He worked with Pixar, just as one of the first animators, and he was just doing small gigs. And then they discovered him and they got him going speaking around. And he said, like, it changed my life, and he was able to buy a house on the beach, so he had like two homes. So like, I think that's the same thing that can happen to Australian speakers that I don't know how many homes they have or what stuff they want or how many books they want to be published or what kind of networks they want to make. But I'm thinking you got more opportunity for all those things that you want spiritually, philosophically, financially in the States by opening yourself up.
Yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity, and having someone like yourself who knows the territory, because I often like the NLP. I'm not sure what they call it, but it could be a presupposition but it basically says that the map is not the territory. So you have this version of what it may be like from a map, but actually when you actually go onto the ground, and I noticed this when I spent some time in Austin. I spent 3 months in Austin doing some work there for BX Networking, and I, nothing could have prepared me for what I actually experienced when I actually landed on the ground in Austin and went to where I was living, and then started doing day-to-day commuting. And I think it's the same with Australian speakers who have a vision of what it might be like. And then some of them have actually, a lot of these speakers have actually worked over in the US from time to time. But a lot of that is satellite trips. So getting over and coming back within a week. Some of the trips I think that they're going to experience over the next 2 to 3 years are going to be times when they might be over there for 2 months doing a series of shows. So there might be a bunch of gigs in on the East Coast, and then maybe a bunch of gigs on the West Coast, sort of thing. Because one of the things we're really keen to do is to start setting up these speaking tours. So what's your thoughts on that?
For the different cultural experience or
Yeah, yeah,
well,
just from like yourself when you went to Australia, was Australia exactly like you thought it was going to be, or was it completely different?
wait, if you're talking about from that standpoint, uh, the one thing I guess that we all find out from watching the movies that the culture represented in film is not the culture that you meet on the ground when you enter the country. So what you think you know about Americans might not be actually true when you're there. Just like when I went to Australia, when I went there, I thought everyone would say good day and no one did. So I was that one person. So I was like, oh, completely misrepresented. I have stereotypes in my head. The same thing happened, when I travel out or I went to China and I lived there for a year. I had a vision of China of everyone on bicycles, and that was not, there were bicycles, but they were
Well,
just buildings.
that exemplifies beautifully that the map is not the territory. So you have a
Yeah,
vision of something in your head, then you
yeah,
go, that's what it must be like because here's
yeah,
the map that I've been given,
yeah.
and then you experience it. And I think that's very much the case, particularly with the size of the market in America, Kyle. It's really hard to get your head around. In fact, what we do with the speakers when we onboard them is we really niche down to even like with verticals, we don't take a whole vertical. We niche down through the vertical and then niche down even further to try and really get to a point where we're finding some low-hanging fruit that is easier to go after than just say, because in Australia you can use the shoot the gun, wait for the smoke to clear and see if we hit something, because the market is literally not that big. I mean, it's not minuscule, but it's a
Hmm.
very tight market. There are a lot of people vying for, for the same job. So there's a lot of disappointment. I think there's a lot more disappointment in the in Australia than there is in the US. Not that, I mean, I guess from a purely from a fee, because you're talking about when you lose a gig in the States, if it's a full day workshop, it could be $35,000 US. Now, when that money comes back to Australia, I think the US dollars at the moment is 64 cents. So, you can imagine that, you're getting an extra 40 cents on the dollar. So instead of if you're earning 10,000 over there, you're pulling about 14,400 or whatever it may be. So the disappointment can be great, but there is more opportunity. So,
Yeah.
you can. It's one of those things where that's why I'm so gung ho for doing an outbound model in the United States. And the last few years for me have been a little bit frustrating. Some of the workings that I was involved in didn't allow me to really do anything outbound. It was all very reactive. But having being there on the ground and having a kind of like a free reign to just go anywhere and do anything is so exciting. And we're really, really excited that we've got you on board, mate. We are, like I say,
Glad to be here.
you're a super nice guy, and for us that is everything. And we know you bring the experience as well. And I know that the Aussie speakers that do come on board, and they're all welcome to reach out to Kyle, call Kyle, talk to him. He's got a lot of great experience with the market over there. So feel free to reach out and ask him for advice. He also offers his professional services. So if you need something done, I mean, just because Kyle works for ASU, it doesn't mean to say he's going to be able to, do a whole bunch of free stuff for you. He's got a lot of work to do in setting up the company over there and setting up our contacts and our relationships. So, but however, he does have his own professional business where he does copyright. He does. What other services do you offer, mate, outside of ASU?
Well, I also do sizzle reel, show reel editing as one of my services for keynote speakers
So you can
that I
con
do for.
you can contract Kyle outside of ASU for that sort of stuff. We've got no problem with that at all. He's got a lot of experience. He's worked with some of the biggest speakers in the US. So yeah, don't think you're going to get Kyle just for the price of being onboarded with ASU, because that doesn't work that way. But if you wanted to contact him, feel free to do so. Jump on LinkedIn, contact him through there. He's always available. He's a great guy. You're going to love working with him, as we are. Kyle, thank you so much for having a chat with me today. I just wanted to introduce you to the Australian speakers, and I'm sure that they'll know a little bit more about you now. And have a great day, mate.
Yeah, you as well. Excited to meet everyone.
G'day. There you go.
Finally, I got one.
You.